Good morning. Good afternoon. Come on, Telugu. Come on, Seva. Assalamu alaikum. Barako. And Ni Hao, this is Musa. Matt Meacham Jr. signing in on this YouTube network, which my opponents refuse to say how many subscribers I have. These guys are so dishonest. You know, the people who run this world, they are so dishonest. And they got so many tricks up their sleeves. And they try to do everything, the things they do, to stay in control, not realizing that they're made of flesh and blood like all of us. And it seems, and not realizing that destiny speaks to everyone who exists. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the world situation. I thought I would continue to read from my book, The War Has Begun. But I don't think I'll do any more reading from that book anymore, because I'm trying to sell that book. And the thing is, I'm not going to read. I think that I'm not going to read any more from that book in my class. Now here I am sitting here. Okay, look at this. Here I am sitting here, man who's written and published and he is marketing close to 1,000 books. I'm not saying it's 1,000. It's close to 1,000. But I'm gonna say this, and I think I will be about right. Here I am sitting here, a writer, published, promoter, sitting in front of you, and I have written and published over 500 books. Who on this earth, let's be honest now, who on this earth do you know has written and published over 500 books? No one. In Russia, no. In France, no. In US, no. The fact is, I have 500 paperbacks, or 500 hardcovers. I got 500 books waiting to be purchased by a community or communities. Why is it that you got guys? Okay, I've read a lot of books. I'm saying, how did this guy get his book published? This trash. Yeah, he gets his books published and his books are being marketed. That's like, here you are, I guess like it's like a farmer. Here you are growing potatoes, growing tomatoes, the best tomatoes in the world, the best, potatoes, sweet, everything tastes so good, and you can't find a market. You got this very good product, and you can't find a market. So I guess some of us are destined to be poor all of our lives, while others are destined to be rich all their lives. And it's quite interesting. Those who tend to be poor all their lives, they may be happier than those who are rich all their lives. I think that's an escape. That's a form of escapism. If I think that a person who's very rich, he's having a terrible life, and here I am very poor, and I'm having a terrible life. I think if you're very rich and you're having a terrible life, it's better than you're very poor and having a terrible life. these pharaohs, you have to blame it on someone. These pharaohs and these oligarchs who rule this world, they can be so cruel. So what does that have to do, Matt? What does it have to do with this class? You know, I think it has a lot to do with this class, because what we're talking about is book writing. And the thing is, here I am, a professional writer who has written over 500 books. He's trying to show you how to write a book. Now the thing is, once I show you how to write a book, then the next question is, how am I going to show you how to market your books? We would talk about marketing books. At some point in this class, we would talk about, once you get that book in its form, you know, a paperback or hardcover, or even a book, ebook, once we get that book, once we get it in its final form, how do we sell this book? Okay. Do we go to a promoter? We go to the pharaohs. We go to those guys who have billions and run this world. So we run to them and say, "Would you please market my book?" And most of the pharaohs are perverts. Most of the pharaohs and the oligarchs, they are freaks. Yes. So once you get this book in a book form, how do you market the book? Here's one of my poems from my book, Poetry of the Mind. This book will be published. I want to hurry up and finish this class, because the thing is, what I want to do is complete this book and see if I can get this book published by the end of the week. But the thing is, I'm gonna read a couple of poems from my Poetry of the Mind book, which I want to work on it. I got my personal reasons. I know I had started out wanting to say, I said, let me publish 2 books this year. But I've already published 4 already. So now I'm getting ready to publish Poetry of the Mind. Let me read something from this book. The title of this poem is called Vanity. Vanity, 'tis vanity. I'll say it again. The title of this poem is Vanity, 'tis vanity. They were asking for a humble man, but they could find no one to understand. So the judge stood up and said, instead, then a short man who was sitting in the back raised up out of his seat. He was black. "I'm the one you're looking for," the black man said. The judge looked out into the audience and he turned red. the lights went out. There was no doubt that he was the one who would earn. But the lights were out. The black man had to shout. He couldn't be humble anymore. That's the end of that poem. Yeah, we black people are tired of being pushed around on this earth. For 244 years, I'm talking about black Americans. I'm not talking about these Africans who stayed in Africa and exploited, who mistreated their own people. They sold some of us into slavery, and we ended up in America, right? I'm talking about those African Americans, those Africans who were in their generations for 244 years. These black Africans, they worked in America for free. For free. 244 years. Those Africans that those white guys took from Africa, from those black African slave masters who sold their own people. Well, they were not their own people, because the Africans were always having wars, fighting each other, tribes fighting tribes. And if one tribe beat the other tribe, he would take those losers and sell them to the white man. For 244 years, 2 centuries, black people were slaves in the USA. Just think, here you are born into slavery for 2 or 3 generations. But the thing that bothers me is, okay, then they said the slaves were freed. And every time those black Africans did something, they began to unite and build communities. These white people burnt down their communities. The riots of 1919, white people were going everywhere in America, were just going around destroying black people's property and killing them. And they had supposed to have been freed in 1865. And you're talking 50 years, at least 50 years after they were supposed to have been freed. And then these black Africans began to build communities. And what these white people did, they went in and burnt the communities down. These white Europeans were killing the Indians, and they allowed their friends from Europe to come in. They said, look, you can go take the Indians' land. And they had these Africans who were slaves for over 100 years, and they said, we're going to give you 40 acres and a mule. And they lied. They didn't even give these black African slaves, when they said they had freed them, they said they would give them 40 acres of land and a mule, and they did not give it to them. Rather, they gave it to their white European friends who came over. That's how America became a strong white country. Let me read about this poem. Read this poem again. The lights went out. There was no doubt that he was the one who would earn, but the lights were out. The black man had to shout. He couldn't be humble anymore. What do you think about that drama? What do you think about that drama?